Hey everybody, this is Carla and welcome to episode 15, part 15 of Adventures in Workforce Development, preparing ahead for your training course. So throughout this workforce and development video series, I talk about how to prepare and what to expect and navigate when you decide to get training money from the government, be it the local government, state government, or federal government. And in this episode, I'm talking about what happens when everything goes through and it's a week or two before you could do your training course. One thing I would recommend is that you actually read up on it. So I read up on the training provider, the software, which is very important. Uh, if you are doing something online, please, as soon as you get the invite, test your system. It's very important that you don't wait till the last minute to test your system, because if it malfunctions, then you won't get credit, you won't be able to attend. So if you know anything about me, I have just received my EIDL 4, which is for IT service management, March of this year, 2019. And I had to go through PeopleCert, which was purely online. You know, Pearson View, Pearson View, and Prometric, all of the testing services, none of them had it. They only had the older edition. And what I was hearing, that people who had Macs, people who had Apple, they had problems with the firewall, and PeopleCert had to work on it. Well, I have Windows, so I have a PC. And I still scheduled a test 3 days before just to make sure that my system was correct. So if you are doing online testing, I would recommend, as soon as you get that email, configure all the systems and make sure everything is working. And if it's not working, get in touch with the support or the training provider, because then they will help you configure your system, or in enough time do a workaround. Maybe you have to come into the center itself, like the workforce development. They have libraries, they have places where you can use a computer and you can come in. Or maybe you would have to come into the training provider. Some training providers offer the option of online as well as in person for the same class, even if it's being live taught online, because the training provider system isn't going out, because they have to support the contract. So that's something I would recommend. But another thing that I would recommend is reading up and doing any prep knowledge. I just think that it doesn't stop when you get the money or when you submit the application. I think it's still, for me, I view it this way. It's my responsibility to come in there with at least a functional knowledge or some type of basic knowledge of the certification or any type of training, so I can be informed enough that if I don't understand something, I can ask a better question. So what happens is, when you start from zero and you're giving all of the weight of your education and knowledge to somebody else, then they have a lot of control. But when you go in there and you have like some type of knowledge of it, it empowers you to ask the questions that will give the answers. But also, if the training isn't what you expected, you at least have a foundation or some type of reference of where you can go to get the information you need. So I mentioned EIDL before. I had training money for EIDL 3, and I still took an online course to learn more about EIDL, which is IT Infrastructure Library, before entering that. And I do feel that that helped me pass EIDL 3 the first time. And the same with EIDL 4. I was looking at things, looking at like different things, reading the manuals, taking like courses, because EIDL 4 is virtually new. It just came out February 28th of 2019. So I took it within like a month, and it wasn't a lot, but I had some type of fundamental knowledge. I looked at all of the surveys of EIDL 4 that were on YouTube, because people were talking about it. and just getting better understanding of that. And I can apply this to workforce development. When I had to take the TABE, which is the test for adult basic education, where I had to go through workforce development, I actually went online to YouTube and I looked at people and about how they took the TABE test, how it was for them, and what they did afterward. And that really helped me adequately prepare for my taking the TABE. I had the advanced book for reading and math, both the math and the computation part and the applied. And I scored 12.9 plus, which is graduating high school senior. That's the highest you can go. And I scored them for all three booklets. But, using my workforce development, I actually researched what TABE was about, took some practice tests to adequately come in there and score the highest there. But that's something that I would recommend, is that you have a fundamental knowledge of the test, what's expected of you, but also if you are doing online system, to test your system as soon as you get that email, configure everything to make sure your system works. If the test provider, such as in my situation with PeopleCert and EIDL4, they let you do a walkthrough test, take that. That is good to test your system, but it also protects you. So say for instance, you do this, test dry run and it doesn't work. Well, then the certification people would know it ahead of time. You won't lose your money. They can reschedule you, or they can give you some type of alternative. Look at it this way. It's a form of consumer and customer protection. So when you do the test run and it doesn't work, that protects you and protects your money, because there are certain timelines available, such as if you test your screen, say you can't make a change within 48 hours. I think that was it for EIDL4. So I tested my stuff 72 hours. So if it didn't work, I wasn't losing my money. That's something else that if you're doing online or in person, make sure that you protect yourself and your money, whether or not it's you or the trainees, because if you go back and you tell their training specialist or workforce development specialist that you did the test run within the time allotted, it didn't work, you notify the administrator of the test, and then they can make their arrangements, but then they won't lose their money also. So in this video, the three things that I talk about are: number one, to make sure that you test the system, especially if you're doing online testing. Number two, learn about the test administrator. And number three, do some research on any type of training course or certification course, just so you can have the fundamental knowledge when you walk in there, so you can ask better questions. So that's this episode, and I'm very happy that people are watching Adventures in Workforce Development, because my goal is just to use this to better inform people about the workforce development process and help others. So my name is Carla R. Jenkins, certified project management professional, certified Scrum Master in EIDL 3 and 4, with 13 years of problem solving experience in project management, big data, and IT service management. And you can get in touch with me at carlarjenkins.com. Click on the contact button. You can also subscribe to the YouTube channel down here by clicking the subscribe and the bell notifications. And if you're watching this and it's not even Facebook or YouTube, and you can still subscribe to my YouTube channel at carlarjenkins.com/YouTube channel. So I would like to thank everyone for taking out the time to watch me and this episode of Adventures in Workforce Development. And I'll see everybody in the next video. Goodbye.